The Council betrayed Earth. Humanity's fleet arrived and annihilated everything. Part 5. The New Order. 3 months after the first attack. The war was over. Admiral Kim Do-yoon stood in the Great Hall of Station Prime, the same hall where the Council had sentenced humanity to death. The same hall where Ambassador Park Yuna had begged for peace and been ignored. Now the crystal pillars were cracked. The floating lights had dimmed. The great thrones of the 12 counselors stood empty. Most of the counselors were dead or imprisoned. Their fleets were destroyed. Their governments had collapsed. Only one counselor remained. High Counselor Veth knelt on the cold floor before Do-yoon. His pale skin was dirty. His fine robes were torn. His black eyes, once so arrogant, were filled with fear. Behind Do-yoon stood the heroes of the war. Captain Lee Ji-won, who had planned the attack. Pilot Han Min-ji, who had led the fighter squadrons. Engineer Choi Sun-ho, who had built the weapons. Lieutenant Yoon Tai-woo, who had broken the Council's communications. Dr. Bae Yoon-bi, who had given humanity the technology to win. And Ambassador Park Yuna, finally free after 5 years in a cell. Cameras broadcast this moment to every world in the galaxy. Billions of beings watched. Humans, who had survived against all odds. Alien species, who wondered what fate awaited them. "Look at me," Do-yoon said. Veth raised his head slowly. He expected to see madness in the human's eyes. He expected to see the savage hunger for destruction that he had always believed humans possessed. Instead, he saw something that confused him. He saw sadness. 5 years ago, you sat in this hall and ordered the death of my planet, Do-yoon said. 3 billion people died that day. My daughter, my grandchildren, cities that had stood for thousands of years, history, culture, dreams, all of it, gone in hours. Veth said nothing. What could he say? I have spent every day since then preparing for this moment. Every night, I dreamed about what I would do when I finally stood before you. I imagined 1,000 ways to make you suffer. Do-yoon paused. The hall was completely silent. And now that moment is here. You are on your knees. Your empire is dust. I could do anything I want to you, and no one in the galaxy could stop me. Veth closed his eyes, waiting for the killing blow. But I am not going to kill you. Veth's eyes snapped open. What? Do-yoon turned to face the cameras. The Council believed humans were monsters. They believed we were so dangerous that we had to be destroyed before we destroyed others. They used fear to justify genocide. He shook his head slowly. If I stand here and do what they expected, if I kill for revenge, if I build an empire on the bones of my enemies, then they were right about us. And they were not right. They were wrong about everything. Ambassador Yuna stepped forward. Her voice was clear and strong, despite everything she had suffered. Humanity did not survive because we are cruel, she said. We survived because we are stubborn, because we refuse to give up. Because when someone pushes us down, we get back up. That is our true nature. Not violence, determination. Captain Ji-won produced a document and handed it to Yuna. This is the Charter of the Terran Accord, Yuna announced. A new framework for the galaxy. Not based on fear, but on law. Not based on power, but on justice. Every species will have a voice. Every crime will have a consequence. Every being will have rights that cannot be taken away. She looked down at Veth. The Council's great sin was not fearing humanity. Fear is natural. Their sin was deciding that fear justified murder. They looked at us and saw a threat, so they tried to eliminate that threat before it could grow. They never considered that they might be wrong. Veth's voice was barely a whisper. You truly will not destroy us? Do-yoon crouched down, so he was at eye level with the fallen counselor. We destroyed your power to harm others. Your ships are gone. Your weapons are gone. Your ability to murder innocent species is gone. What you build from this point forward is your choice. Choose better than you did before. Slowly, Do-yoon stood and faced the cameras again. To every species watching this broadcast, humanity is not your enemy. We did not fight this war to conquer. We fought to survive. Now the war is over, and we offer friendship to any who want it. We offer trade, cooperation, and mutual respect. His voice hardened slightly, but understand this clearly. If anyone threatens the innocent again, if anyone tries to commit genocide against any species, humanity will respond. Not with cruelty, but with justice. We have proven we cannot be destroyed. Now we will prove we can be trusted. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. Human ships helped rebuild worlds that had been caught in the crossfire. Human doctors treated wounded aliens who had once been enemies. Human engineers shared technology freely with species that needed it. Not everyone trusted humanity. Some species remembered the war and remained afraid. Some whispered that humans were simply waiting for the right moment to conquer everything. But others saw something different. They saw ships delivering food to starving colonies. They saw soldiers helping refugees find new homes. They saw a species that had every reason for revenge, choosing mercy instead. Admiral Do-hyun retired to a small station orbiting what had once been Earth. The planet was slowly healing. It would take centuries, but life was returning. Green shoots pushed through ash. Fish swam in waters that had been poisoned. Captain Ji-won took command of the new Terran Defense Force. Pilot Minji trained the next generation of pilots. Engineer Sunho built ships designed for exploration instead of war. Dr. Bae continued her research, pushing the boundaries of science for the benefit of all species. And Ambassador Yuna became the first human speaker of the Terran Accord. She spent her days negotiating treaties, resolving disputes, and building bridges between species that had been enemies for millennia. Sometimes, late at night, she would stand at a window and look at the stars. She would remember Earth as it had been, beautiful, alive, home. It was gone now. It would never return. But something new was growing in its place. Something that might, in time, be even more important. A galaxy where no species would ever be alone. Where no child would grow up afraid of genocide. Where the future belonged to everyone. Humanity had been betrayed, broken, and nearly destroyed. They had risen, fought, and won. And in the end, they had chosen to be better than their enemies. That was their true victory. Not the conquest of space. Not the destruction of the Council. The choice to be kind, when cruelty would have been so much easier. That was humanity's greatest strength. And the galaxy would never forget it. The Council betrayed Earth. Humanity's fleet arrived and annihilated everything. Part 4. The Reckoning. The attack began at exactly midnight. Council Standard Time. High. Councillor Veth was attending a celebration on his homeworld when the first reports came in. He stood in a grand hall filled with the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Crystal glasses clinked. Music played. Aliens in expensive clothes laughed and talked about trade agreements. Then the lights flickered, and every screen in the hall turned red. What is happening? Veth demanded. A terrified aide ran toward him. Aye, Counselor, we are receiving reports from the outer colonies. Ships. Hundreds of ships. They appeared from nowhere. What ships? Whose ships? The aide's voice trembled. Sir, they are human. Veth felt his blood turn cold. That was impossible. The humans were extinct. He had made sure of it personally. On the main screen, an image appeared. A massive fleet filled the void of space. Dark ships with sharp angles and glowing weapons. They did not look like anything the Council had ever seen. They looked like death itself given form. A face appeared on every screen in the hall. Admiral Kim Do-yoon. His gray hair was cut short. His eyes burned with cold fury. His voice was calm and steady. "This is Admiral Kim Do-yoon of the Terran Vengeance Fleet. You thought you killed us. You were wrong." The hall erupted in panic. Guests ran for the exits. Guards drew weapons that would be useless against ships in orbit. Do-yoon continued speaking. 5 years ago, you murdered our planet. 3 billion people died in one day. You called it mercy. We call it genocide. And now you will pay. Another voice joined the broadcast. Lieutenant Yoon Tai-woo, speaking clearly. "Attention all civilian populations. You have 30 minutes to evacuate military zones. We are targeting military installations, government buildings, and fleet positions only. This courtesy is more than you showed our children." In orbit above the Vithani homeworld, Captain Lee Ji-won commanded the attack fleet. Her voice was steady as she gave orders. First wave, engage orbital defenses. Second wave, target the military shipyards. Fighter squadrons, clear the approach for the main fleet. Pilot Han Min-ji led the first fighter squadron. Her ship screamed through space at impossible speeds. Council defense platforms tried to lock onto her, but she was already past them before they could fire. Behind her, her squadron tore through the defenses like a knife through paper. "This is Min-ji. Path is clear. Main fleet, you are good to proceed." Engineer Choi Sun-ho watched from the Retribution's weapons control center. His new systems worked perfectly. Council shields that had protected their ships for thousands of years simply vanished when human weapons hit them. Armored hulls that were supposed to be unbreakable cracked like eggs. They built their ships to fight enemies who were afraid of them, Sun-ho muttered. They never expected to fight someone who was not afraid at all. On the ground, Councillor Veth tried to reach his personal ship. The streets were chaos. His people ran in every direction, screaming. The sky above was filled with fire as human ships destroyed, everything with a military purpose. But they were not bombing cities. They were not killing civilians. They were targeting only military installations, exactly as they had promised. This confused Veth more than anything. Humans were supposed to be savage. They were supposed to be bloodthirsty monsters who killed without thought. That was why the council had destroyed them. A holographic projector activated in the street. Admiral Do-hyun's face appeared again, looking directly at Veth. "Councillor Veth, we have been watching you. We know where you are. You personally ordered the destruction of Earth. You smiled while billions died." Veth froze. "We could kill you right now," Do-hyun continued. "A single missile from orbit. You would be vapor before you knew what happened." Veth waited for death. But that would be too easy. You need to see what you created. You need to watch your empire fall. You need to understand what you have done. The hologram vanished across the galaxy. Similar scenes played out. The 12 homeworlds of the Council species fell under attack simultaneously. Their coordinated defense networks failed because human hackers had already infiltrated them. Their mighty fleets scattered because human agents had sabotaged their command. Structures in the Galactic Council chambers on Station Prime. Ambassador Park Yuna walked free for the first time in 5 years. Human soldiers had liberated her cell. She was thin and weak, but her eyes still burned with the same fire Veth had seen long ago. She walked to the window of the Great Hall and watched council ships explode in the void. "You kept me alive," she said quietly. "You wanted to study me, to understand humans better. I hope you learned something useful." The lead soldier approached her. "Ambassador Park, Admiral Do-hyun has requested your presence on the Retribution. The war will be over soon." Yuna nodded. "Not the war. Wars end with treaties. This is something else. This is a reckoning. Within hours, the Council's military power was destroyed. Thousands of ships became debris. Stations crumbled. Defenses fell silent. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia suddenly found themselves helpless. Some surrendered immediately. Others tried to fight and were eliminated. A few begged for mercy. Admiral Do-Yun denied every request for negotiation. There was nothing to negotiate. The Council had made their choice when they murdered Earth. Now humanity made theirs. By the end of the first day, 7 of the 12 Council species had surrendered unconditionally. By the end of the first week, all resistance had stopped. The great and mighty Galactic Council was broken. And humanity, the species they had tried to exterminate, stood victorious among the ruins of their empire. The Council betrayed Earth. Humanity's fleet arrived and annihilated everything. Part 3. The Gathering Storm 5. Years passed in silence. The Galactic Council had moved on from the destruction of Earth. They called it a tragic natural disaster in their official records. History books were rewritten. The blue planet was just a footnote now, a cautionary tale about a dangerous species that nature itself had eliminated. High Counselor Veth stood on a balcony overlooking his capital city. Towers of crystal rose toward the purple sky. Ships flew in perfect patterns between buildings. His species, the Vethini, had ruled this world for 50,000 years. They would rule for 50,000 more. He rarely thought about the humans anymore. Why would he? They were gone. But sometimes, late at night, he remembered that human woman's smile. The way she had looked at him before the gods took her away. Like she knew something he did not. He shook his head. Foolish thoughts. Far away, in the cold darkness beyond the outer rim, humanity was not gone. Humanity was waiting. Admiral Kim Do-Yun stood in the command center of New Hope Station. It was not really a station. It was an entire city, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid the size of a small moon. 400 million humans lived here now. They had schools, hospitals, parks, and factories. Children played in artificial sunlight. Families ate dinner together. Life continued. But underneath this peaceful surface, something else was growing. Do-Yun walked through the military sector with Captain Lee Ji-won at his side. They passed rows of ships in massive hangars. Workers crawled over hulls, installing new systems. Pilots trained in simulators that recreated Council vessels with perfect accuracy. How many now? Do-Yun asked. 847 combat vessels, Ji-won replied. 112 carriers. 15 heavy battleships of the new Vengeance class. Dr. Bay's upgrades have been installed on 70% of the fleet. They stopped at a viewing window. Beyond the glass, a massive ship floated in the construction dock. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Sharp angles, dark metal, weapons that could crack a planet's crust. The THS Retribution, Ji-won said. Our new flagship. She will be ready in 6 months. Do-Hyun nodded. And our intelligence on the Council? Lieutenant Yoon Tai-woo appeared on a nearby screen. He had not slept in days. Dark circles hung under his eyes, but he smiled. Sir, I have good news. We have successfully infiltrated Council communications. They have no idea we exist. They think the last humans died in the Martian purges 3 years ago. Do-Hyun remembered those purges. Council ships had bombed the Martian colonies from orbit. 50 million people had died. But 50 million more had escaped into the darkness, guided by Tai-woo's false signals and decoy ships. Every death made humanity stronger. Every attack made them more determined. Engineer Choi Sun-ho walked up to the group. He carried a strange device in his massive hands. It looked like a small box covered in glowing lines. Admiral, you need to see this. He pressed a button and the box vanished. Do-Hyun blinked. Where did it go? Sunho smiled. Nowhere. It is still here. I just made it invisible to every sensor the Council has. Light, radiation, gravity. Nothing can detect it. A cloaking device, Ji-won whispered. How? I studied Council technology for years, Sunho explained. They think their science is the best in the galaxy. They are wrong. They stopped improving. They became lazy. Humans never stop learning. I took their ideas and made them better. Dr. Bae Yoonbi joined them. She had aged in the past 5 years. Her hair was completely gray now, and she walked with a slight limp from an old injury. But her mind was sharper than ever. The cloaking device is just the beginning, she said. I have developed new shield generators that are 3 times stronger than Council shields. Our weapons can penetrate any armor they have. Their ships are designed to fight enemies who respect them. They have never faced someone who wants to destroy them completely. Do-hyun looked at his team. These people had given everything for this moment. They had sacrificed sleep, comfort, and peace of mind. They had watched their home burn and chosen to fight instead of despair. Show me the target list, he said. A holographic map appeared in the air. 12 star systems glowed red. Council military bases, fleet headquarters, shipyards, weapons factories, and at the center, Station Prime itself, where this nightmare had begun. We cannot hit them all at once, Ji-won said. But we do not need to. The Council is not united. They are 12 species who tolerate each other because it is convenient. If we strike hard enough, fast enough, they will turn on each other. Do-hyun studied the map. 5 years of planning. 5 years of building. 5 years of burning rage, carefully controlled and directed. The Council made a mistake, he said quietly. They thought fear was enough to control the galaxy. They thought genocide was a solution. They thought they were safe. He turned to face his officers. Send the final preparations to all fleet commanders. In 6 months, when the retribution is complete, we attack. No warnings. No negotiations. No mercy for military targets. We are going to show the galaxy what happens when you try to murder humanity. That night, across New Hope Station, humans gathered in small groups. They shared stories about the homes they had lost. They showed pictures of families who would never return. They remembered beaches and mountains and cities that existed only in memory now. And then they went back to work. Building ships. Training soldiers. Preparing for war. The Council celebrated their peace. They had no idea that the storm was coming. They had no idea that every day, every hour, every minute, humanity grew stronger. In exactly 182 days. The universe would change forever, and the Council would finally understand the terrible mistake they had made. The Council betrayed Earth. Humanity's fleet arrived and annihilated everything. Part 2. The survivors' Admiral Kim Do-hyun was eating his dinner when the emergency signal came. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and a face full of wrinkles earned through decades of hard work. To everyone on Mining Station Gamma 7, he was just the old administrator who managed ore shipments from the asteroid belt. They did not know his real job. His personal communicator buzzed with a code he had hoped he would never see. Code black. He set down his chopsticks slowly. His hands did not shake, but inside, his heart turned to ice. He walked calmly to his private quarters and locked the door. Then he opened a hidden panel in the wall and pressed his hand against a scanner. A secret screen flickered to life. The video showed Earth. His Earth. Fire and water consumed everything. Cities he had known since childhood vanished under waves. Mountains crumbled. The sky turned black with ash and smoke. Do-hyun watched in silence. He did not cry. He did not scream. He simply watched until the video ended. Then he pressed a button and spoke clearly. This is Admiral Kim Do-hyun. Commander of Project Black Sky. Authentication code, Silent Thunder 7. All units activate. I repeat, all units activate. Across the solar system, hidden bases came alive. On Europa, one of Jupiter's frozen moons, Captain Li Ji-wan received the signal in her tiny apartment. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes that never seemed to blink. The council knew her as a simple cargo pilot. In truth, she had planned more battle strategies than any general in human history. She pulled up her secret files and began sending orders. Hundreds of ships that officially did not exist started their engines. On a station orbiting Neptune, Engineer Choi Sun-ho was testing weapon systems when the alert came. He was a big man with thick arms and a gentle smile. He built things. Wonderful, terrible things. The council's inspectors had searched his station 3 times and found nothing. They did not know about the compartments hidden behind fake walls. They did not know about the missiles and cannons that could punch through any shield. Sun-ho read the message and felt his stomach drop. Then he cracked his knuckles and got a work dot in the asteroid belt. Pilot Han Minji was running flight simulations when her screen turned red. She was young, only 28, with quick reflexes and quicker thinking. The council thought she was a mining transport pilot. They had no idea she could fly a fighter craft through a needle's eye at full speed. She grabbed her flight suit and ran for the hidden hangars. Within hours, the scattered pieces of humanity's secret gathered together. Ships emerged from hidden docks carved into asteroids. Personnel transported from fake mining stations to real warships. Communications that the council could never detect linked them all together. Admiral Do-hin stood on the bridge of the THS Vengeance, the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet. Around him, officers worked at their stations with quiet determination. No one was crying. No one was panicking. They had trained for this moment for 20 years. Captain Ji-wan appeared on the main screen. Admiral, I have reports from all sectors. 412 combat vessels are active. 63 carriers with full fighter complements. 2.3 million personnel ready for orders. Dawn nodded slowly. And the civilian survivors? Another officer, Lieutenant Yoon Tae-woo, spoke up. He was the communications specialist, a thin man with glasses who could hack any system ever built. Sir, we have confirmed survivors from the Martian colonies, the lunar bases, and the outer stations. Approximately 400 million humans are still alive. 400 million. Out of 8 billion. Do-hyun closed his eyes for a moment. The council thinks we are finished, he said quietly. They think they killed us all. They were wrong, Ji-won replied. Very wrong. Dr. Bae Yoonbi joined the communication from her research station. She was the fleet's chief scientist, a woman with gray streaks in her hair and the mind of a genius. Admiral, I have been analyzing council technology for 15 years. Their shields, their weapons, their engines. I know every weakness. I can make our ships better than anything they have ever seen. Do-hyun looked at each face on his screens. These were the survivors. These were the ones who would carry humanity forward. The council believes humans are emotional and impulsive, he said. They believe we will attack immediately in blind rage. They are waiting for us to make that mistake. What do we do, sir? Tae-woo asked. Do-hyun's eyes hardened. We wait. We prepare. We build. And when we finally strike, there will be nothing left of them but dust and memory. Over the next few days, the fleet organized itself. Refugee ships from Mars and the Moon were guided to safe locations. Children were comforted. The wounded were treated. The dead were counted and remembered. Do-hyun held a memorial service for Earth. Millions watched on screens across the fleet. He read the names of cities that no longer existed. He spoke of families that had been erased. He did not cry, but his voice cracked once when he mentioned Bizon. Where his own daughter had lived with his grandchildren. At the end of the service, he made a promise. We will rebuild. We will grow strong. And one day, the council will understand what they have done. They killed our home, but they did not kill our spirit. They murdered our families, but they did not murder our will to survive. We are human. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We endure. In her cell on Station Prime, Ambassador Park Yuna somehow received a smuggled message. It was short and simple. Black Sky is active. We are coming. Hold on. For the first time since Earth's destruction, Yuna smiled. The council had no idea what was growing in the darkness between the stars. They celebrated their victory. They divided human territories among themselves. They congratulated each other on solving the human problem. But in the shadows, humanity was rising. And their vengeance would be terrible beyond imagination. Park Yuna had dreamed of this day since she was a little girl. She stood in the Great Hall of Station Prime, the largest space station ever built, floating at the center of the galaxy. Around her sat the representatives of 12 alien species. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Today, Earth would finally become a full member. Yuna wore her best diplomatic uniform. The blue fabric had the flag of Earth stitched on the shoulder. She had practiced her speech 100 times. She had memorized every name, every custom, every gesture that might offend or please these strange beings. The hall was beautiful. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling that showed the stars themselves. Floating lights drifted like fireflies. Representatives from a dozen worlds sat in chairs designed for their unique bodies. Some had 4 arms. Some had no eyes. Some breathed gases that would kill a human in seconds. But they all watched her with what she hoped was respect. High Counselor Veth sat at the center of the great table. He was an insectoid creature, tall and thin, with pale white skin that looked like paper stretched over bone. His species, the Vethany, had founded the council. They believed themselves superior to all other life forms. Yuna had learned to smile at Veth despite the coldness in his black eyes. Ambassador Park, Veth said, his voice clicking and buzzing through a translator device. You have come to hear our decision regarding Earth's membership. Yuna bowed her head slightly. I have, High Counselor. Humanity is honored to stand before this council. For 30 years, we have worked alongside your people. We have shared our knowledge. We have learned your ways. We believe we are ready to take our place among the stars. The other counselors shifted in their seats. Yuna noticed something strange. They were not looking at her with respect. They were looking at her with pity. Veth raised one of his thin arms. A holographic screen appeared in the center of the hall. It showed Earth, the beautiful blue planet that Yuna called home. White clouds swirled over green continents and blue oceans. Yuna felt her heart warm at the sight. Then she noticed something else in the image. A massive rock was moving toward Earth. An asteroid, larger than any she had ever seen. What is this? Yuna asked. Her voice trembled. Veth stood slowly. Ambassador, the Council has been watching humanity for a very long time. We have studied your history, your wars, your weapons, your endless hunger for more territory, more resources, more power. We have changed, Yuna said quickly. We are peaceful now. You have not changed, Veth interrupted. You have simply hidden your nature. Humans breed too fast. You adapt too quickly. Your military instincts are embedded in your very blood. In time, you would challenge the Council itself. We cannot allow this. Yuna stared at the screen. The asteroid was getting closer to Earth. She did the math in her head. It would hit within hours. "You did this," she whispered. "You moved that asteroid." "We redirected it," Beth said calmly. "A small adjustment to its path. Nothing that could be traced back to us. The galaxy will see a natural disaster. A tragedy. The humans will be mourned." Una lunged forward, but guards grabbed her arms. They were massive creatures with gray skin and 4 arms each. She struggled, but she was nothing compared to their strength. "You cannot do this," she screamed. "There are 8 billion people on Earth. Children, families. They have done nothing wrong." Veth walked toward her slowly. His black eyes showed no emotion. "They are human," he said. "That is enough." On the screen, the asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere. It glowed bright orange as it fell toward the Pacific Ocean. Una watched in horror as it struck the water with unimaginable force. The impact was beyond anything she could have imagined. A wall of water a mile high rose from the ocean. It raced toward every coast, swallowing islands, erasing cities. The ground itself cracked and split. Volcanoes erupted across the ring of fire. Earthquakes shook every continent. Una fell to her knees. Tears streamed down her face. The death count appeared on the screen. 1 billion. 2 billion. 3 billion. The numbers kept rising. "My family," Una sobbed. "My mother. My little brother. They were in Bizon. They were gone," Beth said. "As all humans will soon be gone. We are tracking your colonies on Mars and the Moon. They will be dealt with shortly. By tomorrow, humanity will be nothing but a memory." The other counselors watched in silence. Some looked uncomfortable. A few even looked sad. But none of them spoke against Veth. None of them tried to stop this. Veth leaned close to Una. His breath smelled like rotting flowers. "Your species was never meant to leave your solar system," he said. "Consider this a mercy. A quick death is better than the slow destruction you would have brought upon yourselves." Una looked up at him. Her tears had stopped. Something else burned in her eyes now. Something that made even Veth step back for a moment. "You think this is over," she said quietly. "You think you have won." Veth laughed, a clicking sound that echoed through the hall. "What will you do, Ambassador? You are one woman. Your species is dying as we speak. There is nothing left." Una smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You watched us for 30 years, she said. "But you never really understood us. We are not just the people on Earth. We are everywhere. And we do not forgive. We do not forget." Veth waved his hand dismissively. "Take her to the detention level. She will be useful for study before we dispose of her." The guards dragged Una away. She did not struggle. She did not scream. She simply watched Veth with those burning eyes until the doors closed behind her. Veth turned back to the council. "The human problem is solved. Let us move on to other business." But deep in his mind, something bothered him. That smile. Those eyes. Una had looked at him like she knew something he did not. He pushed the thought away. Humans were emotional creatures. She was simply in denial. He had no idea how wrong he was. Far away, past Mars, past Jupiter, in the dark spaces between asteroids where no one ever looked, a message was being received. Emergency codes flashed across hidden screens. Men and women who had lived ordinary lives suddenly stopped what they were doing. Project Black Sky was active, and humanity's real power was about to wake up.